So on to our last session, and it actually sort of reflects what was being discussed earlier when Jerome, I think it was, from Marriott, discussed that 75% of their pipeline is in a sort of franchise model, and then the discussion was around third-party operators or the role of the operator in the first place. So I'd like to introduce Dirk Bakker, the head of hotels for EMEA for Colliers, to come up and introduce the final panel. Dirk, thank you.
Bring my pens and make sure that you don't see my socks.
They're very disappointing.
So welcome everybody to this, I believe, the last session. And let me bring on stage, to start with, Bani Haddad, founder and managing director of Aleph Hospitality. Welcome, Bani. Dr. Gullet Abbas, Chief Executive Officer of Boma Panafrican Limited. Welcome, Gullet. David Grant Thomson, Vice President of TFG Hotel Management. And last but certainly not least, Gabriel von Bonsdorff, Principal of the Hospitality Investment Corporation of Dubai. Welcome.
Oh, there.
There's your chair. We're all four apart here. So, indeed, Matt, you said it earlier, some of the topics have come to the table. So I think here we have an interesting panel because we have a mix of asset management, third-party operators, owners and investors on stage. So let's try and discover in this last panel who and what the preferred operating model is. Third-party operators, is there time to shine in the Middle East and African markets is the question today. Let me start with you, Bani, right next to me first. White label operators did not exist in the region. Which trends did you observe to let you to set up a white label operating company?
So we set up Aleph Hospitality in 2015 in Dubai, and the main reason for that is we really saw that there was a need for independent hotel management company used to run a brand in the region, as was my partner. And we weren't able to grow our footprint in the Middle East and Africa as fast as we wanted, because there was a lack of professional independent operators who we could franchise to. But also, we figured out that there's a need for owners to have an alternative to the traditionally established model in the region, in the Middle East Africa, which is the brand managing directly. And we wanted to create additional value. We knew that this model, as Matt mentioned, this model in the US and Europe is the most common model, and for a simple reason is that it tends to generate higher returns for the investor.
Yeah, oh, interesting. Dr. Abbas, you work together with Bani in Africa. You own, actually, you are financed through the Red Cross. They own your hotels, but you are owner of the company, and you have engaged with Bani to run your hotels. Why would you do that with Bani as a white label operator? Why would you not choose one of the brands, either on an HMA or a franchise model?
So yes, I mean, we've worked with Bani now for about, since January this year. Boma hotels are hotels that are owned by the Red Cross in Kenya. They were the investors and they took a loan. We hired local management, professional hoteliers to manage the facility, but unfortunately after 7 or 8 years of management, we've seen that there was, unfortunately, mismanagement. I actually met Bani over 4 years ago, and I wish I had listened to him then, than last year when we finally met again and moved on this direction. But the hotel was ailing, basically. So yes, we could have gone for a brand. We have our own brand, but if it meant international brand, probably it was more being nationalistic and wanting to build local brands that can then run, but it didn't work to our expectations. So we were forced to go into self-imposed administration about 2019 December for about 1 year, which was we're having challenges with the banks and with the revenue authority. So while dealing with that to protect ourselves against the banks and the revenue authority, that's why we went to administration. But we spent most of last year working with the UK hotel firm and lawyers to try and get an international operator, because we knew maybe the demand with the brands was going to be much more difficult, much more higher. But at the same time, we also felt that it was companies like Aleph, international operators, have their own experience, expertise, and knowledge, and they also come with what we were looking for at the time. So through competition last year and through law firms, Deltons in UK doing pro bono work for us, and the other hotel owners that we are working with on pro bono, we were able then to settle for Aleph. It took us time because of administration issues, but finally they came on board, and we're saying now at least we can see seriousness in the management of the 3 hotels that we have, and we just have to sort out the bank issues, and with that then hopefully we would have the brand getting back to its original intention. And if we have to then get an international brand, again through Aleph, there were proposals that were made, but we decided first of all to stabilize the situation, we work with the international operator before we get into the discussion whether we want a bigger brand or not.
So you're happy with the model?
At the moment, yes, and as I said, I wish I had listened to myself much more 4 years ago when I first met Bani.
Okay, good. David, over to you. Your hotels are all or mostly branded, and I'm sure you have something to announce that you are now also stepping away from the traditional brands, but is that an owner's wish or demand, or is it a choice?
Well, no, what it was, I mean, you know, the first group started life 15 years ago as a developer. And, you know, so it moved from developing apartments to developing hotel apartments, then to hotels. And as a result, you know, it didn't have a hotel management arm at all. So naturally, they turned to, you know, the larger hotel brands in order to run the properties that they had. But I think, you know, the realization was that there was potentially a better way of doing this. And so 3 years ago, we started to establish the hotel management company, which I was brought in to set up. And as a result of that, we switched our management contracts into franchises going forward. And then yesterday, actually, we opened our first own brand hotel, the First Collection. So we've sort of moved through the entire spectrum.
Sorry to interrupt, but would you manage your own brand yourself with the experience, or would you be better off in finding a third-party operator? Just trying to conclude a deal here.
Yeah, that's a very
Bani.
good question. No, we're very happy managing our own brand, but I mean, we intend to continue going forward with the branded model, but on a franchise basis for sure. Yeah. So there will be. We've got 8 properties under development at the moment, including the world's tallest hotel, CL Tower. And some of those will be First Collection properties, and others will have a brand on them, but it will be franchised.
It will be franchised, yeah. Not third-party operators.
Not third-party operators, unless there's an existing contract. So,
yeah, so you're not against it, but it's just the best choice for you for now.
Yeah, we believe very strongly that the franchise model and self-operating is a good thing.
Gabriel, the ICD invests in various markets globally. You're basically a sovereign wealth fund, really. Initially, your fund invested in high-end and branded hotels. This has changed over the years. Could you elaborate why that would be, why that was?
I think ICD is a company, we obviously had a large asset base around the world. We do believe that in the new economy, obviously, the hotels market evolve. There's a bigger need for 2, 3, 4 star. You don't only have to play in the 5-star space, and we're currently embarking on disposing some assets, especially in the U.S. and Mexico, to redeploy that capital into U.S. and Europe. We're quite keen on we're agnostic to whatever makes the best deal. Sometimes HMA is the right way to do it. Sometimes franchise together with a third-party operator is. I think if US and Europe are quite different because 80-85% of hotels are franchise. I mean, it's a prevalent business model in the US and in Europe. It's not yet here in the Middle East and specifically Africa. But the evolution is that it's coming. The stats are there. It's pretty. I mean, it's hard to put. I think locally here, we're quite keen on exploring, potentially, especially in the 2 to entry-level 4-star, the potential of franchise together with a third-party operator. We wouldn't operate ourselves, but and that's because we have a lot of assets in the same sub-market with different brands. So we're in a situation where we would have 3 director of finances, 3 HR, 3 everything, and no one speaks to each other. So we're quite keen to have one cost operating model across, not only from a cost perspective, but for us also, you can attract better talent, you can attract better sophistication of the people that you employ. All of a sudden, you can afford not to just employ a finance manager. Now it's a director, and with that comes profitability as well.
Yeah, I get it. I was reading an article not so long ago written by Scott Antel on the quality of management provided by the big hotel brands. And if I was listening this morning to Sébastien Bazin, who was saying that he was opening one hotel every day, so 365 a year, Marriott, Hilton, they do approximately the same. These guys, are they not brand managers these days? And is the quality of management maybe in certain regions, in certain areas, for sure questionable? Would that be one of the considerations you would take in choosing your management model, David?
Oh, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
No, look, I think, recruitment is one of the hardest things that everyone has to do. I think, there's nothing more difficult in any company than getting the right recruitment. But I think, the big brands are well set up to recruit and recruit in large numbers. So I don't think that is necessarily the issue. I think it's being, being the master of your own destiny is very, very important. And also, aligning expectations, because as we know over here, there's been a lot of very high expectations amongst owners about what properties can do for them. And I think it's fair to say that some of the brands have oversold what they can actually achieve. And I think, as a result of that, having a third-party operator who's independent of the two, whether it's the brand or the owner, who can actually bring a more realistic view of what's going on, I think is really important. But I certainly don't think it's a recruitment issue.
Yeah.
I mean, we've set up our own company. We've been able to attract some really good talent because the people that are running it, including myself, have been here for many, many years and, well established in the market, which is why we've been able to attract people. But there's no question the big brand's still attracting very good talent for sure.
Yeah. So in Europe, there's quite a few leases, certainly in Germany, in the Netherlands, some in France, even in the US. Also, third-party operators, they do take out leases. So they take the risk. Certainly in the pandemic, they will probably wish they hadn't, but so they take all the risk. Is that something that you see coming into, for instance, into Africa or into the Middle East? Are leases a way of going forward, Bani?
We've up until now we haven't done leases, but funny enough, you mentioned it. In the last couple of months, we did put out a couple of offers, one for an African market country and another one for a Middle Eastern country. And so at the time being, we're doing it very selectively. It has really to have a strategic reason for us. But definitely it's one of the solutions that we're going to provide going forward if it suits our strategic growth. And
it's also a quality statement, I guess. If as a third-party operator, white label operator, if you like, if you would take out a lease, you would certainly put your best foot forward in terms of your management teams, to provide the best quality.
Well, you can see it like this, but anyway, under our regular management services, we have to say that the big difference from when we manage as a third-party independent versus the brand managing directly is that our exclusive master, if I may say, is the owner of the assets. We report to the owner. We render a service to the hotel investor. And we work with the brands, but to service the owner. So we don't have the brand to service and the asset. So anyway, under our traditional model, without the lease, we're already fulfilling this need for the owner to ensure that his asset is well serviced and given the right attention.
Got it. Gabriel, Gabriel, if as a sovereign wealth fund, I could say, and I'm certainly going to correct me when I'm wrong, that in certain cases, you would be a little bit more risk averse. Would leasing for you be an option in the future?
We would need to. I think for us, leasing is the same as financing. It's you put leverage. I mean, it works the same. You have to pay an annuity, and I think here locally, it's still not. In Europe, obviously, it's very tax efficient. Here, it's not very efficient because anything above 10 years, you have to go to the land department and pay 4% of the lease value, which obviously you don't want to do. And the governing law is, it's being developed. It's not many leases in the area. It would make sense if I think you're an operator or a third-party operator with the brand to come in, but the separation, might give a lease, but I don't think we would take on a lease.
Right.
Because we're in that, once you're given the lease, then it's up to the operator and the brand. Those are the two other partners you need to put together. There's very limited room for an investor from that side, so.
Right. Dr. Abbas, switching to you and further on this topic, you're predominantly active. You are actively solely in the Middle East. In Africa. Do you see a difference, having worked also with Bani, between the operating models in Africa and in let's say the Middle East, from your perspective? I'll ask the same question to you later, Bani.
I think okay, so it's relatively new for us. It's been only, let's say, a few months now. But I think for us as the owners, it's given us relief, it's given us a breathing space, it's given us the comfort now that you have an operator who is experienced, who's knowledgeable, who's supposed to bring system, procedures, IT, know-how, technology, and is able to now change the outlook of how the business is done within the facility, within the hotels. Again, using the same staff that were in the hotel, of course, they'd have to change some, and they have the freedom to do that. But where we, as owners, are still very close in contact with them, the general manager report to the board, who are the owners, but where they have the space and the freedom to operate and do the work, which is a pity that we went the way we went initially, not realizing. Of course, there's always the push for bigger brands, and now maybe that seems to be the in thing. Even what I see in our market in Kenya, more and more international brands are coming, largely some on the franchising side, some on probably even leasing, but more importantly for where we sit, we think for now the model that we have taken is what would serve us better for now and for probably the foreseeable future. But it was all necessary to go that way from more than anything else, otherwise we'd have gone now. Also in discussion with the banks, we're also involving their team, and they're also part of the negotiation, which we don't feel us and them kind of situation, that we're all in this together, and it's been so far so good.
Yeah, thank you. Bani, how do you see it?
I mean, the difference between the Middle East and Africa, I would say the biggest difference is that there is a number of trophy assets in the Middle East, which you don't find in Africa. So the requirement for a third-party operator on the basis that a third-party operator would generate higher profit has been less obvious in the Middle East. But other than that, listen, a hotel is a hotel, and whether it's in Africa or the Middle East, our operation philosophy is the same.
Yeah, I can see that. David, over to you again. What is your preferred model, operating model?
Look, I think for us as the first group, I think our preferred operating model would be to continue to run our own properties regardless of the brand on the building. That's going forward what we want to look at for sure.
Yeah, and Gabriel, how's that for you?
I think in the luxury space we prefer the HMA route on pretty much everything else. I think then it becomes a question of the operator's capabilities in the market, i.e. the HMA capabilities. And I think if the HMA operator is not in the region, don't have a big presence, then we will be a third-party operator plus franchise route. If not, then it would be HMA. It depends on the capabilities. I mean, you came back to the service levels. I think it's about the capabilities on the ground. And if they're then being governed from the other side of Atlantic, or you need the attention of the operator. So I don't think it's a red line between the two decisions. You have to weigh the options and the capabilities. And in the end of the day, it boils down to the people. If you're able to recruit and have a top-tier general manager for your property, and you're comfortable with, if he would leave, or he or she would ever leave, can you recruit a new one? Obviously, if you're a big operator, you can get that staff. You can immediately. If you're a smaller, then you may not get that. So you have to weigh the options. I don't think there's a set formula. You have to know the market, know the operators, and who's going to work for you.
So basically, you're agnostic.
Yeah, we look at each option. For us, it's 7 hotels or 7 mid-tier hotels in the same sub-region. It makes sense for us to find a cross-brand operating model. While if you own trophy assets or high-end luxury in other regions, then HMA is probably the best. And frankly speaking, very few operators, if any, allow you to franchise a luxury brand.
I saw you looking at. Do you wish to comment, Bani?
No, I mean, the basics of the third-party management is you have we're offering flexibility for owners. So you have owners, investors who would like to be extremely involved with what's going on. And some others say, no, listen, just go do whatever you want to do. And you have anything in between as well. And because in our philosophy, we're just giving a service, we allow this. And Dr. Abbas just mentioned it, our general manager is in close contact with them. He reports on a number of things to them. Some others, they want to see him once a month, and probably not even. The other benefit is for multi-property owners like ICD, the advantage could be, this possibility of leveraging scale, operating multiple brands with one management company, and then you can start clustering, reducing your payroll, your procurement prices, etc., which also creates an amazing opportunity for the employees and attracting talent, because all of a sudden you're able to join a management company. You can spend 2 years with Holiday Inn, 3 years with Novotel, 5 years with Marriott, but you're still with the same management company. So you have an amazing career progression and you're building an amazing CV.
How important is that, do you think?
Massively important, and we are seeing it today with our team. Many of our team members have already moved within our portfolio. Yeah. They're still with Aleph Hospitality, but they're moving between countries and brands, and they're building an amazing CV.
Yeah, that's interesting. David, asset management, where does that come into the game?
Look, we have a very big asset management division, obviously, with a number of assets that we already operate. So, and we also look after other properties outside our own portfolio from an asset point of view. But it's essential. It's essential. You have to have good asset management to ensure that the properties are, first of all, the bricks and mortar are where they should be and doing what they should be and delivering as a product. But also, you've just got to make sure that the numbers are right. And you need, regardless of who's operating the hotel, you have to have somebody who's keeping an eye on that and acting as the watchdog on behalf of the owners. So we have that structure within us where we have separate asset management to hotel management and ownership. So which obviously keeps everybody.
Can third-party operators replace or partly replace asset management? Bani,
I wouldn't have said
Dr. Abbas, let me ask you that question because you work together.
Can they?
Can third-party operators replace or partly replace the asset management need to optimize results, basically?
Are there any asset managers in the room?
Well, I'm sure that we're going to have a question round, so we'll see.
Listen, I think it depends on the assets, the complexity of the assets, and in some cases it can replace if the asset is relatively simple. For very large, very complex assets, there is room probably for a good asset manager.
Or coexisting with Aleph, for instance?
Well, coexisting, but also it also depends on the structure of the ownership, right?
Yeah.
If the owners really don't have the time to follow up on their asset and they need someone to represent them to ensure that the management then it all depends on the structure of the asset and the corporate structure of the owner.
Good.
Yeah.
In the light and in the perspective of the whole conference here, the word sustainability has come up quite a few times. Is sustainable hospitality, I'm going to ask all of you the same question, is sustainable hospitality an extra cost that adds to the list, or is it in fact a value driver? Gabriel?
I think sustainability is probably a misused word in the industry as much as value engineering or anything else. But I think true sustainability comes at a cost. It's not maybe a clear ROI. I think a lot of people maybe hide behind the word sustainability and say, yes, you can choose not to do laundry of your sheets, but that's not sustainability. I think we're a long way forward. So I think it comes at a cost, and it's a cost that we have to take.
So it's not a value driver.
True sustainability, is hard to get to, but we have to strive to get it. It's not just reduce your energy consumption.
Right, David, what's your view?
Yeah, I think we're beyond that in many respects. I mean, it's essential. Now we have to, we had the UN report saying it's code red for humanity, and we just have to get on with it and do it. And I think the hotels have got a huge part to play going forward in terms of, everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people stay at hotels. We have to be the example, which we set to other people. And as you say, it's not just about, don't have your laundry done or the chemicals we use. It's got to be on every aspect of the operation. And it's part and parcel. Plastic should be removed from hotels. I mean, there's no two ways about that. We should be doing everything we can. I mean, I know here we use recycled cardboard to produce all the paper that's in our properties, whether it's tissue paper, toilet paper, or whatever. Everything's glass bottles, and there's a cost to this. Of course there is, but it's an essential cost. I mean, we owe it to our guests, and we owe it to humanity generally. And we are, as I say, we have a great opportunity to be the people that educate people. So we should be taking that.
I was looking for the word education. I think the hotel industry can actually help educate. Every room you can sell 365 days a year, and 365 different people can stay in that room that you can educate, can't you?
Sure.
Dr. Abbas, how's that in Africa? How do you experience sustainability as a cost or also as a value driver? How important is it?
So for me, I'd go a bit longer distance or the other way around. The hotel was built by the Red Cross simply for the purpose of it generating resources for the Red Cross, so that the hotel is viable, sustainable, is able to have surplus to give money back to the Red Cross for its humanitarian work. But because of what we got ourselves into the mess, that's why we went this way, into having an international operator. So we'd expect that now, with the knowledge and the experience of that international operator, these issues would be addressed to the latter, and that we were able to provide the best service, and that whole issue of the sustainability becomes important, how to cut the cost and rationalize, still run a profitable facility that gives money back to the Red Cross.
Last but not least, money.
I mean, it is a value driver. Obviously, even these small initiatives do drive immediate value. But I think it will become a real value driver when you and me start looking at hotels and choose our hotels if they're sustainable or not. So I don't think anyone here in the room, or anyone, I don't know of anyone who's choosing or has the capability of choosing his hotel or her hotel based on this. So once we have ratings, criteria, certifications for hotels, then it will become a real value driver for the hospitality.
Last question, because that's something that I'd like to follow. You touched on something that I'm very sensitive to. It's memberships. So if you are either a member of any of the Club at the Hyatt or Marriott Bonvoy, Hilton Honors, or whatever, isn't that an opportunity for the hotel chains to use their loyalty programs to communicate with their loyalty card holders to invoke sustainability efforts?
Not only, I mean, hotel chains have, and you've mentioned it at the early beginning, the brands are actually brand managers. They own huge databases and that's we rely on them to communicate, to reach out to our customers, to bring them in our hotel. So it's not only through the loyalty program, but through the various other means they have. And obviously, they have a big responsibility, I think, in the future of communicating these initiatives, but setting them up also.
Should hotel owners not force these brands to be more responsible? If they're not, that's assuming they're not responsible. I think they are.
By saying this, it seems like they're irresponsible. I don't think they are irresponsible. There are a lot of initiatives which are going on. Maybe not enough, and we should go faster. And we actually have launched last month Aleph Innovation Lab, and we called multiple startups. One of the categories we've called for is sustainability, and we're looking for ideas because we feel that there is a need to evolve in that space.
I think we've got a wonderful discussion here. I think the conclusion we can have, because we have to round up before we're asking questions from the audience, it seems, unless somebody disagrees, that third-party operators, it is their time to shine in the Middle East and Africa. Any questions from the audience? Do I see hands?
So you want to move towards the drinks, I guess.
Do not see hands. Everybody's thirsty, I guess. If there's no questions, thank you very much for being with us.
You have a question?
No, I was just going to say I think everyone's very happy with the session and looking forward to the Ratana reception now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, to the panel.
Boring socks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dirk.
Thank you.
And that